Hi friends, today is Friday, October 20, 2023, and we're here today to film not only for the Patreon channel, which we do reasonably frequently, but also for the YouTube channel, which we haven't done in quite some time. The reason for that is that today's question came from a YouTube viewer, and the general policy, as I believe it is meant to be, is that when questions come through YouTube, they are answered and shared on YouTube. And so today's question followed that rubric, and today we get to share this work with YouTube. If you are new to this work, I'm going to do a quick explanation. What I'm about to attempt to do is interdimensional channeling. I spent years training to be able to do this. I continue to do ongoing training to be able to get better at it, get more accurate at it, and also just to maintain the level of accuracy that I have had in the past. There are physical responses to this kind of energy work. You will likely see my eyes move around in my head when they're not closed like they are now. I commonly yawn. My breathing patterns change. You might be able to hear that on the audio. All of these are common signals of energy moving in the physical body. If these kinds of signals are scary to you or overwhelming to you, you are welcome to experience this work with your eyes closed. But for those of you who are more comfortable with those kinds of energy shifts, what often comes up in healing sessions with clients is that those moments where the physical body responds to the increased flow of energy can be moments where the energy is at its most powerful. And so if we use those moments as points on a map, we can find where the energy is most powerful in any given session and connect in with those moments. You'll notice I move my arms around a lot. It's because I'm very aware that the structure of my energy body and all of our energy bodies include intuitive channels through which our intuition comes. It's really just parts of our energy body that are feeling around to understand what's happening. And so I try as often as possible when channeling to groom those intuitive channels up to the guardian angels who we are supposed to be channeling today. I believe the guardian angels who we are assigned to listen to today are responsible for this planet Earth that we live on, that is the same density as this body, the same density presumably as your bodies. Because the question has to do with Earth. There is another group of guardian angels who seem to be responsible for the Patreon channel. They do seem to be present almost as a backup if we can't find somebody larger. There we go. And so that is a relief. We're going to take a little time now to align to those guardian angels better so that we can better hear what it is they're saying. The question we believe we are supposed to present today goes as follows. Is it still valid to dedicate your life to art in this era? Or should we spend our time differently in a way that benefits the world more directly? Let's ask if they're willing to take that question, but it feels like someone up there is. Let's connect up, taller, 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 taller. It's easy to find people in lower dimensions who are willing to answer questions. The trick is always to find someone at a very high vibration who is willing to answer the questions. The trick is to find someone who is an actual guardian angel. There we go. So let's ask, is it still valid to dedicate your life to art in this era? Alright, someone is starting to talk and I'm going to have to try to translate, and I might need to back up and correct myself. What they're saying is, first and foremost, the answer to any question of what is supposed to happen with our lives, it will always come back to the concept of the destiny, to the concept of the soul plan. Every life is actually different. Every life actually does have there we go, a different purpose on this planet. Otherwise, there could just be one person on Earth and we would accomplish the goals we were supposed to accomplish. There are, of course, backups to every soul plan, so it is common for large groups to come in with very similar soul plan goals and just slightly different modes, slightly different methods through which they're meant to achieve those goals. That's pretty common. The specific methods are always a little bit different. So the first easy answer is it actually depends on the destiny, what people are supposed to do. What you are supposed to do is completely different from what everyone else is supposed to be doing, because we're all meant to be weaving a tapestry of life that works. And it wouldn't be a very intricate tapestry if every thread was the same color, if every image was the same image. No, we are meant to have differences in our lives. That being said, they're talking about the purpose of art. The purpose of art, they're saying, is to inspire people to do the right thing, to inspire people to live their destinies. At the very heart of what art is, it is a method by which we can try to align people with the lives they are meant to be living. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes someone can see a film, experience a symphony, watch a live performance, and come out and make some change in their life. It does happen. However, the angels are saying it's a paradox, because by choosing to engage in entertainment, which is such an ugly word, they're saying, such a dirty word, but by choosing to engage in something that feels like it's just for the service of pleasure, people tend to turn off that little part of their brains that says, and now you might have some transcendent experience, and now you might come to some deep understanding about what it means to be you in your life, in the world. People will say, well, I'm just going to see a movie. I don't have to think all that hard about my life and how it relates to these characters and this plot while I'm in the movie, because I'm just going in there to have a good time and to be entertained. That is a dangerous thing, the angels are saying, and it's the paradox that has been the trouble of art from the beginning, because part of the purpose of art has also been to lift people out of their suffering. When things are bad, and things are getting bad in an increased way, in case you haven't noticed, things are just going to get worse continually until our species peters out. I'm so sorry, they're saying. I'm so sorry we have to tell you like this. And so art is also something that is meant to distract from suffering. And now, how do we make this very tricky piece of art that allows people to be released from the suffering of life, which can be so many factors of life? Financially, we can suffer. Emotionally, we can suffer. Physically, we can suffer. Culturally, we can suffer. Historically, we can suffer. There are so many ways in which we can feel pain. And all of us feel pain. And so the purpose of art is to lift people out of their suffering, so they're not thinking about the little problems in their lives or even the big problems in the world, and then open a door so they can see, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing about all of this suffering or all of this big feeling? And they're talking about how there's a family member in this channel's life. I did not know they were going to talk about this. And when we were growing up, we spent a lot of time in museums, love museums, come from a family that really cherishes museums. And this family member would cry in museums, standing in front of the art, would weep. And this is still art. These are landscape paintings. These are statues of people who have been dead for a long time. It's nothing brutal. It's nothing visceral. But this family member would cry, and as a child, this channel would not understand what was happening. Why was she crying about something that wasn't bringing her pain? It just seemed very strange. And the older this channel gets, the more we cry in museums. And I think what that is going into a space of art with the intention to come out changed, not knowing how exactly we're going to come out changed, because we don't know what art we're going to see when we get to a museum or a gallery or a theater. But we go in intending to be transformed in some way by what we are about to experience. And then almost always you can feel what that artist was trying to work through, what they were trying to detangle in their mind, in their lives, from their suffering. And sometimes, if you come in with that intention to be transformed, you can be transported into a place of understanding your purpose in the world more effectively. That is the best case scenario for what an audience can do, is to come through a transformative experience of art, whether it is a Picasso painting or a Marvel film. Come through that transformative experience and come out with a clear understanding of what you are meant to do in this world. Now, the trouble is, as an artist, you have to create art for those people, because that is the point of art, is to transform people. And then what do we do about all these people who don't want to be transformed? They want to watch a TV show. And these guardian angels are talking about it's a TV show called White Lotus, and the first series of White Lotus is placed, I think it is, on a Hawaiian island, and the premise of that first season of the show is people are coming to vacation on this Hawaiian island, and as part of the plot, as part of the narrative, we have experiences with native Hawaiian islanders and people living in Hawaii who are of a lower economic system, a lower economic status, and are working in the service industry in Hawaii. It is well written, someone upstairs is saying, to really expose the horrors of the tourism industry in this particular part of the world. Is this a horror that affects humanity as a whole? Not really, but there are universal truths in those horrors that if someone comes into that experience wanting to change, they have the opportunity to change. And what these guardian angels are saying is the question of whether or not that piece of art was truly successful. And I don't know the answer to this. I did not know this was coming up, so I did not research this before the channeling session. They're saying the answer is, did anything change in the tourism industry in Hawaii as a result of that season of that television show? We note this is being filmed after some devastating fires have ravaged at least one of the islands of Hawaii. They are really suffering there. So obviously tourism is, well, I don't even know if it's suffering there. Someone upstairs, I was going to say obviously tourism's suffering, and someone upstairs says, are you sure? Are you sure the resorts aren't protected from those kinds of disasters? Are you sure people aren't still flying into that devastated place to have a vacation? So the real answer to, is mainstream art effective in changing the world around us, is, was there any change in the tourism industry in Hawaii after White Lotus? It was perfectly written. It was not subtle. If you've watched that series, it's pretty clear what they're saying. What they're saying is the world of tourism and the world of the wealthy is exploiting these islands that do not belong to them, and creating a system of near slavery for the people who actually own that land. It's pretty clear. I think anyone who watched it walks away with it. And now, did anyone change? Did anyone who was planning to go to Hawaii say, you know what, I'm not going to participate in this. This feels wrong. I don't want to do this anymore. Did they? And I don't know. It's a reasonable question. Someone upstairs is saying, well, what about documentaries? Because documentary is art. Documentary is meant to tell the truth, which is something the guardian angels really value. It's something they talk about a lot. What about documentary films? Is that worth doing? Oh, that's a good question. Is documentary worth doing? Wow, that wasn't the answer I expected. They're saying something we have to remember about documentary is that it takes so much more effort and time than a narrative film, because all you're doing is gathering little pieces of a story, watching for the moments when they connect with each other, aiding in the weaving of those connections, and then presenting it to the world. That is what a documentary is. And they're saying all that time, all that energy, all that focus almost always can be used in some way that is most effective to help the world. And they're also stating the trouble with documentaries is that right now our planet is almost in free fall. And I know it doesn't look that way because look, this is beautiful. But we are in a huge crisis of climate change, of pollution. We're in a crisis of biodiversity loss that is just devastating. Something like 6 out of the 9 crucial tipping points for planetary survival have already been crossed. It is very likely that within the next 20 years, this planet is going to change and will look almost unrecognizable from how it looks now, and our species will look almost unrecognizable from how it does now. And they're saying, what will a documentary do to help? If there's no one in 20 years who can watch it, what is it a record of? It's filming yourself on a boat while the boat sinks, knowing that that film will be lost at the bottom of the ocean? That is really painful. Alright, so I have another question. I think what they're saying is there is not much purpose to the art once it's out in the world unless you hit the very few people who I'm lucky to be one of these people who come into artistic experiences ready to learn more about who they are meant to be in the world. And any of us watching can become that person. That is not a special skill. That's just a choice when you walk into an experience to say, okay, maybe there is something for me to learn from this. And maybe it has to do with what I'm supposed to do with my life. And now the question is it helpful for us to make art? Is that process helpful?